There we go. If you have questions, you better ask them quick. Is that okay? Yeah. Good. Sorry I'm late. So I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I want to tell you a bit about my background, and then I want to give you a few insights into how I do what I do. My insights are based on being a practitioner. I do this for a living. I start up tech companies, I build them up, I raise money, I sell them, I do it again. My wife says stop doing it, and then I do it again. So I've sort of learned some things that feel important to me. There's no theory in what I talk about, it's just from practice. This is what I actually find. So a bit about myself, a bit of background. I grew up in London, in Uganda, in Kampala, and in Nigeria, in Benin City. I went to university in Nigeria, I went to the University of Benin, I did physics. I wasn't very good at it. I got a 2-2, which, as I explained to my daughter who got a double first from Cambridge, I said a 2-2 is twice as good. She doesn't believe me. I also told her that if she didn't get into Cambridge, I might be able to use my connections to get her into Uniben. She wasn't impressed. Then I came back here and started building my career. I started off in corporate life, so London Stock Exchange, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Goldman Sachs, and then I left when I was about 30 and started entrepreneurial businesses. Over the last 20 years, I've probably set up 6 or 7 businesses, built them up, sold them, and so forth. And on the charity side, my focus is on education, so I'm involved in schools. I'm a chair of 2 schools at the moment, one in London, the UK's National College for Digital Skills, and one in Ghana, the African Science Academy, which is a girls-only science and technology academy. And I've also, over the years, sat on the board of about 6 other schools and set up a few as well. So my charitable side is education, but my business side is technology. I started my career as a computer programmer at British Airways, and what I'll do is just sort of highlight 6 things that I think are important to me, have been important on my journey. So that's really the first one, that I started out as a technologist, a hands-on technology guy, and I am really good at it. I am world-class in the technology that I understand. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to be world-class in something. You don't need to be world-class in everything. You need to have a lot of things that you do, but there needs to be one thing that you could go on a stage, a TED or a TEDx stage or a World Economic Forum stage or whatever it is, and deliver a talk, and your peers who are world-class from around the world are going to nod their heads and say, this person knows what they're talking about. A lot of entrepreneurs I see these days just sort of flit around the edge. They do a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of marketing, a bit of tech, this, that and the other, maybe a bit of banking, etc. And they are not deep in any field at all. I've found that having one area at least that you can genuinely say, you know what, that area I am world class at is really, really important. That doesn't come lightly. So the same effort that you put in that night before your degree, where you took that paper that you hadn't read for and then you read overnight, you need to do that for 5 years in your subject until you can sit down opposite anyone and have a conversation. Doesn't matter whether they're an MIT professor or a Silicon Valley startup guy, you are as good as they are. That's really, really important. So be world class at something. The second thing is about time. You need to be urgent. You need to have a sort of interesting relationship with time. On the one hand, you need to be urgent. Everything needs to be today, push, push, push. On the other hand, you need to have a lot of patience, because a successful startup will take you 7 years, possibly 10 years. You think it'll take you 3 years. You've already ordered your car. You've ordered your house. It's going to take you 7 to 10 years. I've done it 6 times. That's how long it takes. Sometimes you see people who've done it faster, and then you say, but see, they did it in 2 years. Great, they happen to do it in 2 years. But the norm is 7 years or so. The reason for that is this: the first year is your startup year. That is the easiest year you will have as a startup person. You get to start your company, there are no expectations, people hail you, look at you and your new company, all of that. and people ask to pitch, and you're new, and they want to hear, and so forth. At the end of that year, you're boring old news, and a new set of new startup people are coming. And now the next 2 years are the hard work, turning that startup into something that's got traction. That's hard. The first few thousand customers, if you're a consumer business, are easy. You put something out there, 3,000 people sign up, and you think, look at me, my business is flying. But the next 20,000, the next 50,000, that's really, really hard. After you've gone beyond the early adopters, or if you're selling to a company, the first client is easy. You talk to somebody who knows their dad, who knows this, that, and the other, you get your first client. But the next 10 clients is hard, hard work. So that years 2 and 3 are tough, hard driving work to get traction in your business. Your early funders get irritated with you. Everything you said is going to take a certain amount of time. It takes twice as long as that. Everyone knows that. It always happens over and over again. And everyone kids themselves that this time it won't happen. But it does. You think you're going to sell to this client in 1 year, it takes 2 years. That's how it works. If you get through that stage and you get out the other side, then you need to scale. You need to start scaling your business. That takes the next 2 years to scale your business to a size where potential purchasers or potential markets become interested in it. So now 5 years have gone by and you've got a sensible business, and now you can start thinking about an exit, because you don't get paid until you exit. You exit in year 5 to 7 and you think that somebody's going to give you a check and a bag of money and say, go and enjoy yourself. No, they say, we'll give you 10% of your money and you stick around for the next 2 or 3 years, making sure that those wild business plans that you told us about, you can actually deliver them. And you say, I actually have to deliver those plans? Why didn't someone tell me? So that's hard. So the next 2 years is hard. And then at the end of those 2 years earn-out period or 3 year earn-out period, you're now 7 years on, you have your money in the bank, and you go off. And you pause for a month and you say, thank goodness for that. And then for some reason you can't quite understand, you say, I think I'll do it again. So that's basically the journey that you're going to be on. Because your scarce resource, you think your scarce resource is going to be money. I can't raise enough money. Money never turns out to be the scarce resource. The scarce resource is going to be your time. You just won't have enough time to do all the things that you need to do. At any given time, your to-do list has 50 to 100 items on it, and there's nothing you can do about it. You try and get it down, it goes up again, it will always be there. Therefore, what you do is you get really, really good at prioritizing what really matters. You focus on the things in your to-do. Out of those 100 things, only 5 of them really matter. The rest are kind of, maybe they need to be done, but which are the 5 that really matter? The way I look at it, when I do my to-do list every day, I look down it and I say, if I can do one thing on that list that moves the dial, that's the thing I'm going to do. The rest of the stuff, if I get round to it, fine. If I don't get round to it, so what? But have I done something today that moves the dial? And if I can go through a week, every day I've done something that moves the dial, that is a huge impact. So you've got to know what that thing is today. And I mean, you're all entrepreneurs. Today, what is the thing you're going to do today that moves the dial? If you get through a day and you tick 20 or 30 items off your to-do list, but none of them were the thing that moved the dial, you haven't done anything today. You've wasted a day. Now you're on to the next day. So you look for the thing, which is the thing that will move the dial. You make sure you've done that before you get round to the other stuff. You also give yourself a break, because it is tough being an entrepreneur. So if you've done that thing that moves the dial and you're feeling stressed or under pressure or whatever, you take the rest of the day off. You've earned it because you've done the one thing that moves the dial. So that, in my view, is how to relate to time. You've got to know how to pitch. Point 5 about, number 3 about pitching. So you've got to have your pitch, you've got to have your 30-second pitch, you've got to have your 5-minute pitch, you've got to have your half-hour pitch. If you pitch to US VC guys, if you ever pitch to US VC guys, they will give you 5 minutes. You think they're going to give you 6 minutes, you think they're going to give you 10 minutes. When they tell you you've got 5 minutes, you think they're joking. You spend the first few minutes on pleasantries, and then you're gone. You have 5 minutes, and if you haven't impressed them, you're out the door. So have you got your 5-minute pitch? People talk about an elevator pitch. I once went to see a VC around the corner in London here, and he said to me, have you got your elevator pitch? I said, yes. He said, okay, come with me. We went He pressed the button of the elevator. We got in, he pressed floor number 7, he said, go on then. I said, the door's opened, he said, you don't have your elevator pitch, go. You never know when you're going to be in front of someone who has 30 seconds to hear your pitch. That is not the time to start figuring out what your 30-second pitch is. You have already got your 30-second pitch. You know exactly what it is. One day you'll be in a room, maybe even here, you'll be in a room with some multimillionaire who's looking for the opportunity. They'll say, what do? You give them your 30-second pitch. That's it. You've got to have it ready at any given time. And therefore, because it's only 30 seconds, and I mean 30 seconds, it's got to be so cut through that they just get it straight away. There's got to be no jargon in it that only you know. You don't try and be clever and say something, well, the graphene adapters, this. No, you've got to just give it to them that they just get. I test it out on my mum. I go home to my mum and I give her the 30-second pitch, go around to her house, give her the 30-second pitch. If she says, I have no idea what you're talking about, I've got to try again, I've got to try harder. It's got to be something that just cuts straight through and they get it. Don't rely on buzzwords, jargon, and all the rest of it. The way I structure all my pitches are like a fairy story. I have a dragon. A dragon is threatening someone. I have my knight in shining armour that's going to slay the dragon. I have happily ever after. All my pitches are structured like that. What's the dragon? What's the problem that I'm trying to solve that is so scary it's worth solving? It's not worth solving an easy problem. You can't say, I have this fluffy bunny and people are scared of fluffy bunnies, so I've got a knight that's going to slay the fluffy bunny. People will think, oh, it's only a bunny. You've got to be something that people actually think, wow, that dragon, that problem you're talking about, that's a serious problem. My knight, my solution, my proposition is going to deal with that. So they get, okay, I've got that that's a problem. I now get how your knight is going to slay that dragon. But you don't stop there. You've got to say, happily ever after. So how are things better for me, my company, society, whatever it is, after we've slain the dragon? If you can boil your pitch down into dragon, knight, happily ever after, you can deliver that in 30 seconds, you can deliver that in 5 minutes, you can deliver it in half an hour. If somebody tells you you have 5 minutes to pitch, do not take 6 minutes. You need to know how long your pitch is. It is just annoying. If a VC says to you, okay, you've got 5 minutes, you take 5 minutes and not longer. So you practice. Most people, particularly people who are good at presenting, don't bother practicing. Oh, weird, I can walk into a room, this, that, and the other. Never ever do that. You practice. If I tell you a joke at any point in this, and I won't because I'm in a hurry, but if I did and you laughed, it's only because I practiced the joke at home and I laughed at my own joke. And you see that joke? I laughed at it. so pitching. Then you come to persistence. How many people do I pitch to in order to raise some money? 100. I will pitch to 100 people and 99 will say no and 1 will say yes. You, because you haven't done it before, or maybe you have, but if you haven't done it before, you think you're going to pitch to 10 people, 3 will say yes, and then you'll negotiate for the next deal. I will pitch to 100, and 99 will tell me to get out of their office, and 1 of them might say yes. That is the level of persistence you need to do startup stuff. And you look for every opportunity. So I remember a time, some years ago, I was talking to this guy, Silicon Valley, San Francisco-based venture firm. I just felt that they were the ideal investor for my business. I was trying to get to them. Finally, the guy, persistence, it wore him down and he said, okay, look, next time you're in San Francisco, come into our office, we'll give you 5 minutes. So I said to him, actually, as it happens, I'm in San Francisco now, can I come into your office tomorrow, let's say 5 o'clock? So he replied and said, oh, that's a bit of a surprise, but yeah, sure, come in at 5 o'clock. So I went to Heathrow, and I bought the ticket and I flew to San Francisco and I went into their office and I pitched for 5 minutes and he said, no, not interested, get out. And I went and sat on a bench and I burst into tears and I said, this is just too tough. And I got on the plane back to London
and then I just found someone else and pitched again and pitched again and pitched again. Any opportunity you get, you pitch, and you are always trying to close, always be closing. Get in front of people, qualify them, don't waste time on people who don't have money. You learn quickly to figure out, do these people really have money or are they just messing me about? Try and figure it out, and then don't kid yourself. In this game, when you're trying to raise money, you do not have the time or effort to kid yourself with people who say, Thomas, you need that. Yeah, I will sort you out. No, you don't have time for that. You have to find people who have money, who invest in your area. You pitch, you try and close. If you can't close, you move on. Failure. I am an expert in failure. I am probably the best person in this room at failing. When I go to interviews, I don't go now, but in the past, if I went to interviews and they said, what's your particular skill, I would say failure. I fail and I go again. I fail and I go again, and I talk about it. There was this great thing this professor, I can't remember which university, I think it was Carnegie Mellon, did. He wrote his failure CV. He wrote his CV, leaving out all the successes he had, and just putting all the failures, all the universities he had applied to that had rejected him, all the papers he had submitted for publication that had been thrown back in his face and so forth. And he wrote his failure CV and he published it. Because he said, people, particularly people who are reasonably successful, will just not talk about their failures. And entrepreneurs are the worst at this. There was a dot-com boom and bust a while back. And I was in the middle of that, and you would meet other entrepreneurs and you would say, how's it going? And they'd say, awesome. If you're an entrepreneur, everything is awesome. Awesome. My business is awesome. How's your business? It's awesome. Awesome. And then, when nobody else was around, you would say, actually, it's a bit tough. And the other guy would say, tell me about it. And then you would hug each other. It's hard. Okay, we're ready? Okay, awesome. You need to be able to talk about your failures because you will have many. And what counts is how you bounce back from them. When I first came back from Nigeria and wanted to get into the computer industry here in London, and I didn't know anyone, didn't know how to do it and so forth. But I found a dictionary, a directory called the Computer Users Yearbook. It basically listed every company in the UK that had a big computer department. And I thought, and there were thousands of them, and I thought, oh, this is easy. I will just apply to every company in the UK that has a computer department. And that's exactly what I started doing. So my first job, as I mentioned, I was a technology guy at British Airways. And sometimes people say, why did you start your career at British Airways? And I say, because it started with B. Because I had applied to every company in England that had a computer department that began with A. And every single one of them said no. And I moved on to the Bs, and I got to British Airways, and they said yes. And to me, that was a success. I thought, wow, I only had to go to the Bs. I was ready to go to the Zs and then come back again and go back again. There was one company I applied to. I did an MBA around the corner at City University, and after that I wanted to I wanted to be a strategy consultant. I don't know why, but we all wanted to be a strategy consultant. I'm going to be a strategist. So I applied to one of those big strategy consulting firms, and they rejected me, obviously. And I was fine because, to me, that just proves that the lines of communication are open. So now we can start. So I applied again, so they rejected me again. I applied again. The fourth time I applied, I got a letter from the European HR director, and she said, please, Mr. Lube, could you give me a call? I said, you see these people, so I called her up, and she said, look, Tom, you don't have the right background, you don't have the right qualifications, we will never give you a job. So I said, thank you very much. I put the phone down. I waited 2 weeks and applied again. I just do not stop. I go and go because everyone else stops. You all stop, you get fed up, I keep going. That's how you win. You think it's some magic. It's not magic. It is just persistence, dealing with failure. But to deal with failure, you need to be able to talk about failure. Therefore, you need to have people you can talk about it with. And it is really hard for entrepreneurs. You can't talk about it with your team. You can't have a tough day. You are the be-all and end-all. When you come into the office, if you're down, everyone's down. If you're up, everyone's up. You can't talk to your investors about it because they get worried. Oh, my product isn't selling. It's really hard. They'll pretend that they're supportive, and then they'll pull their money and so forth. So you have got to find people that you can network with. These are the people that you can network with. other people who are doing what you're doing. You need to be able to have those conversations. There's, as I mentioned about the professor who wrote his failure CV, I was over at Stanford University last year talking to some professors out there, and one of them was saying that their masters, on one of their master's courses, because their students are so high-flying, one of the first things they do when their students come in is get them all to write their own personal failure CV and share it with someone else and talk through it with someone else. And it just allows them to admit that sometimes failure happens and then you have to lift yourself up and go again. I'm now very good at that, and that makes me resilient for being an entrepreneur, because it's 80% failure, 20% success, if that, and people only talk about and mention the success. The last thing is networking. Networking is absolutely key to who you are and what you do as an entrepreneur. If you can network, you'll win. People who try and do it all on their own, it's just not going to happen. But people who can network is absolutely key. If you're going to network, you need to know how to network, and you need to know how to network in your own style. I am an introvert. If I ever do Myers-Briggs type of analysis, I come out as a personality type INFJ. That's my type. I'm extremely introvert. I don't really talk to people unless I really, really have to. Therefore, when I'm networking, I look for a few people and I network with those people, and I try and find people who like networking with other people. If you're that sort of person, you need to have that sort of approach. If you're a really outgoing person, you go and look for everyone everywhere and so forth. But the strength of your network will define whether your business is a failure or a success. So you get good at it. When you network, you do it deliberately. You have to do something for the person. You don't go to people and extract from them all the time. What you think to yourself, what can I do for this person? You know, sometimes I get people coming to me saying, you know, Tom, will you mentor me? That's sort of like, you know, going up to a person and saying, will you be my girlfriend? I've tried that. It does not work. You know, you can't just come from nowhere and demand to network with someone or demand that someone be your mentor or whatever. You've got to build the relationship. You've got to fit into the cracks in their day. If they're a busy person, you've got to grab 5 minutes here and there. You can't say, I want to meet you for lunch, I want to meet you for coffee for an hour. You say, when can I grab 5 minutes with you, and so forth. That's the way you have to play it. That's what I've learned over the years. Being an entrepreneur is great fun, incredibly successful, but if you can do it, you can do it well. That's half an hour. Thank you very much.
We're not going to bother you with questions.
Oh,
you have to go, but that's a gift from us.
Wow,
what we
brilliant.
can do, if you head into the assembly, we can post it.
Oh, brilliant. That's great. Okay. So, best of luck.